So, and the last time we had a meeting, we entered upon the discussion of citizen science at schools, and Nuria was so kind to ask Magda to present something about school project in Warsaw, Poland. So we are very excited to hear about it. And I am going to ask you now, Magda, to share the screen, and then I give the word to you.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Very nice to be here with you. Let me share my screen and I'll start. Can you see it now?
Yeah, perfect.
Great. The problem is that I don't see you when I'm sharing the screen. So if there is some issue, some problem, please just let me know so I can come back to some topics or something like that. Yeah, so that is basically the topic of my presentation today, citizen science as a superpower. And I'm Magda Kubecka from OnScience Foundation in Warsaw, in Poland. We are kind of pretty small NGO working for last 10 years in different cities all over the country, but we are based in Warsaw, and this is our tiny office in the capital city. And we are we focus on two main areas regarding public space and city in general, and urban studies. So we are focused very much on placemaking and creating public spaces together with local communities, with different stakeholders. And we are also focused on the accessibility, both in a context of elderly and seniors, but also in the context of sustainable mobility and some solutions answering the big topic of climate change and things like that. And as a placemakers, this is one of our main rules and one of the main kind of sayings and mottos we have, that community is the expert, and this is something we really believe in. But this is very difficult to really get this expertise in an honest and serious way. It's easy to say that community is the expert, but it's kind of difficult to really implement that rule. And we've been doing that in many different ways, and I will tell about it a little bit, because this is a story important to understand why we started working also with the citizen science as a tool and as a method. So one of the ways we can get this expertise from the local communities is public consultation, or kind of public participation process. And according to law, it's in many different changes in the public space, or some new investments, some reconstructions. The local authority is obliged to involve people in this process of the discussion of public consultation, and we've been doing a lot of these. And this is a very, of course, very well known and very well established way of engaging people, but it has many many challenges in that, and I find it very difficult to make it in a very honest way, as it can be, the nightmare of participation. Probably this book, and there is always this process of consulting and getting opinion from people, but people usually don't see the results, and they are voting on or they are sharing their opinion, but they don't see the whole picture, and it's difficult for them to find their point of view in the implementation later on. We can have also these co-creation methods. So here we can use some art and some creativity to discuss and to find out what are people's needs and what are really ideas to change the neighborhood, the area around them. but it's very often it's like the long list of dreams, and it's great, but it's very far from the reality. People share their dreams and visions rather than something that can be implemented. So it's rather like a starting point for something than the very focused method. And then we can also invite people and community to build something together and just create, stop talking, just doing. And this is something we really like as a foundation, and we do a lot of these. But we can create natural playgrounds like here on the picture, and we can build some benches around one neighborhood. But it's very difficult to implement, big infrastructural changes, and something that needs professionals, architects, engineers, and so on. So it can be also just one element of the whole process. And in each of these methods and ways of co-creating public space and engaging community as an expert, the cars means usually a conflict. I mean, like each topic we bring, each place we want to change, there is always big discussion about cars, because if there is a green space to be created, there is usually a conflict, because it can mean that the parking lots are taken away, for example, or we won't be able to ride in a car for as fast as usually, because there will be some limitation things like that. And we observed those local and city conflicts on a different levels, in different scales, for many years, and it's very difficult to find a good solution and find a common ground to bring this discussion on a little bit different level, and find some solutions for that. And we found out, we noticed that it's usually, there are many problems, there are many points of views. This is also how the city works, right? And this is how the diversity brings such a conflict. But this is also because of the lack of the knowledge and the lack of the common understanding of problems. There are many myths about, for example, those cars and public spaces and transportation and air quality and things like that. There are many taboos also. There are many opinions that are repeated often, but they are not true, or they are not the only true version. So we started working a lot with the education, and we thought that all those processes of public consultation, co-creation, building something together, can be much more valuable if we build some common understanding of the problem. And if we are talking about cars, it may be worth mentioning that in Warsaw and in Polish cities, we have one of the bigger numbers of cars per 1,000 inhabitants. I think the European Union average is 550, and we have 750 in Warsaw per 1,000 people. So it's a lot, and it's a big issue, big topic, also because of the history. This is a prestigious thing to own the car. The car ownership is a cultural issue as well. So this is like a big pyramid of problems. And this is the moment I want to tell you the story from one project. We gathered together in such a group of institutions, universities, research institutions, local stakeholders, and us as the NGO, also working in the research, but mostly directly with people. We gathered together, we met, and we had the opportunity to came up with the idea and with a project called CoMobility, Co-Designing Inclusive Mobility, where we analyze the behaviors related to mobility with a focus on alternatives to the private cars, to the use of private cars. And we are trying to, we are gathering a lot of data, we are making some analyses, And then we are trying to co-create the mobility solutions together with local communities, municipalities, business, different stakeholders that are assessed with respect to the impact of the quality of life, the quality of air and traffic and noise in Warsaw. And to do so, we invited 3 schools from Warsaw. This is the drawing a map of Warsaw, and you have 3 white dots and the 3 names of the neighborhoods in Warsaw, where we have found schools, primary schools, that were interested in taking part in a long 2-year project. The whole project is even longer, but for 2 years we are able to work with the school communities, schools as institutions, but also the whole community, people, parents, children, and other partners around them. Also, to be able to give children completely different tools than they usually have to express their opinion, their needs, their point of view, but also to share their knowledge they gathered. And some of the ideas that we had in mind when starting the project are still kind of true, but after already 16 months of working with them, we found that much more, and that's why I call this presentation the superpower, citizen science as a superpower, because it was very surprising to us how powerful and empowering the citizen science as a tool can be to those people on the picture, for example. The perspective I share here is more as citizen science is more as a tool to engage and educate people and young people, rather than collect data and focus on this research aspect, which is also important, mainly for our partners. But I would like to focus on these other aspects that maybe are sometimes on the not that important for the universities, for example, but for us it was crucial. So what we did together with our partners in these 3 locations, we installed different sensors, gathering data about air quality, about all weather parameters and noise, and also teleram cameras that can record and measure the traffic in front of the school. So of course, these are kind of typical tools you can use in the research, but it was important to us to use them also in the process of educating children and also analyzing those data with children. So early sensors were used also to be able to like follow and analyze each day for a couple of weeks what is happening, and to let understand children what are the correlations and connections between wind and humidity, temperature, and air quality. So they were, using the computers in their classroom to follow, to find the results, and then they were also using those kind of little bit old school methods, printouts and some posters we did, so they could write down their own observations and those data gathered from the sensors. We also used different methods to deal with the air quality and dust around schools, using this Vaseline and piece of paper, the very simple but very attractive also method to children. It was so visible to them, so simple, and also like on their level of their eyes, they could do it themselves. So we found this as a great tool, and also as a way of comparison those official data from the sensors together with our observations and trying to figure out if this is the same, what does it all mean? But we've been using citizen science also not only for air quality, but also to learn more and understand the traffic and mobility situation around schools. So we got this speed control. How you call that? You know, this special tool as police uses usually to measure the speed of cars. And that was also very interesting. These and also measuring the width of the pavements, the time people need and children need to cross the street, for example, and time that they need to come from the nearest bus station or metro station to school. So if it's easy for them to arrive to school in a sustainable and eco way, right? So we were trying to figure out how possible it is that parents would leave their cars while bringing kids to school and to choose walking, biking, choosing some different way from micro mobility or using public transportation in the everyday life. And that was very interesting because we could gather all these data from the professionals and from some sensors, etc. But that was the moment when we could have this reality check, and these like 10 seconds for the green light on the crossing next to the school. It's enough for the healthy adult person, but it's not enough for a child, for example. And we could check that. Also, how friendly the road is and what it means. 5 minutes walk for kids aged 8. And especially if they are also walking with their, I don't know, maybe younger sisters and brothers as a whole family to school. Here I want to mention something. We are collecting all this data, and we were using mock-ups, some like the easy and attractive tool for children to sum up it, to also point those areas and those parts of the infrastructure around schools that are challenging, the nicest parts, but also the most difficult parts where they find some difficulties for them, what should be changed. And that was also a very interesting moment of creating ideas for a change. And I will end up with some like 3 or 4 ideas we came up with from a longer list of ideas in each school. But before that, maybe I will tell 2 or 3 sentences about the cooperation with the school itself as an institution, because we found all 3 institutions very open for the cooperation, but it was also 3 different stories in each place. And after first like meetings and when we explained what is it all about and why we want to involve children, we also signed the official agreement. And it was very important because during our project there were some big changes, political changes in the Ministry of Education, and at some point all NGOs and activists that were present in schools before, they were kicked off because of the crazy situation we have in the Ministry of Education. And if not this formal agreement signed with schools, that was kind of like it took us a long time. It was a lot of bureaucracy and things like that, but it was very important to have it, because we couldn't be kicked off just like that. They couldn't say, not the directors, but the representatives of the Ministry of Education. They couldn't say we cannot continue. So from the perspective of sustainability of the project, it was very important. Also, we found it important to involve teachers in each class, because we were working mainly with one class from the 2nd and 3rd grade, meaning 8-9-year-old children, together with teachers. because we wanted to, like jump in smoothly and also like meet with the curriculum they had. So we had to learn what are they doing usually in the second and third grade, and how we can get along with the curriculum. And that was challenging to let teachers also be part of the team, because we had great educators. We had very, I would say, that would be my guess, kind of progressive methods, going outside a lot, bringing all those interesting tools for children. It wasn't boring. It wasn't sitting in around tables, which is very often the case in Polish schools. So we thought like, okay, we will have this, this show, and kids will love us. But in the same time, we wanted to be able to and treat the teachers and the whole system seriously. So that's why we discussed a lot with the teachers, and we were changing our ideas according to their suggestions. They were, I would say, every meeting and every month we usually meet every month, once a month, or maybe more often. They were more and more flexible and open, and they saw that also it can be very valuable for kids to spend whole hour outside, and there is also possibility and space to learn. We were also taking kids outside in February or in November, when they usually don't go outside so often, and that was a little bit controversial. Teachers were telling us that parents can be angry because they will get cold or something like that, but we were showing that it is possible, and we can do that. So all these brought us, it was a very intense cooperation, and it still is. We have 5 or 6 months left. But for now, we came up, and children, with our support and support of their parents, of teachers, of the whole community, came up with some ideas. And we thought like, if we want to give them this power and this and treat them seriously, and make them feel like they are important, and also that the fundings are valuable, we need to make another step in this process. And this is a visualization of the sculpture, of the monument we are building right now with one of the schools, as it was idea of children in Targów, in school in Targówek neighborhood, that they have this very busy road in front of the schools, and there are many cars, and also trucks and buses, of course, as well. But kids like to come on a scooter, foot scooter, on a bike to school, but they don't feel like there is a space for them, and it's safe enough, etc. And they thought like, we should be more important, we should have a monument of ourselves, that because we are super brave, if every morning we are motivated and we are taking our scooter and going that way to school, taking care about air and environment and everything around. And we thought like it's a great idea actually, that we could build a monument of a child on a scooter, to show also that this is something to be proud of. And we invited some artists, and we did that, and we are about to open this next month. But they were also discovering that this noise thing, for example, and also the air quality, but also how noisy it is around their school, that is something that they didn't pay attention much to before. But when we started, exploring it more, it was obvious to them that we should do something about that. And this is, for example, the school natural garden, natural reserve, that we should also protect existing plants and trees around schools, as they are very valuable for us and for the environment, and also maybe add some more that we could we could make a whole area more green and things like that. And this is the last idea I'm going to show you. This is the crossing in front of the school in Wawer district. These are the outskirts of Warsaw, the district far from the city center, with a very busy road and very dangerous crossing without any even visible signs. I would say there is a sign, but it's not visible. And if you take a look, there is no continuation of the pavement. So children cross the street and suddenly there is some mud and things like that. And you don't see on the picture, but there is also very dangerous crossing. So parents really wanted to do something about that, and after a long process of consultation, trying to deal also with the local authorities from the city of Warsaw, we got this agreement, and this also in the budget of the city, this kind of promise that they will find some money to rebuild that, to change to improve the safety on this crossing. But of course, it will take some time to do that, right? It will take probably one year to implement that, to get all the projects, all the important, how to say, agreements from all decision makers here. But we really wanted to show to the local community that something is going to happen, and the air quality may improve here if there will be less traffic, or the traffic will be in a little bit different way. That's why we invited those memes, those actors for one day, to make a kind of performance inspired by activities in Bogota, in Colombia, many years ago, when the mayor of Bogota was trying to change the situation on the streets, inviting memes, and it worked perfectly fine there. And we thought like we can be inspired by them, and also show people that there is a topic around this crossing, that it's not fine, and we are about to do something with that. So all this, I think, was I wanted to show you the whole story, not only the citizen science activities, as this is just part of the whole process, and these changes that are going to happen and that are happening thanks to those findings and data gathered by children are crucial from our perspective. But maybe I'll stop here, and I would be super happy to hear your comments and maybe some questions if you find it interesting.
Thank you very much, Magda. This is a wonderful project, wonderful presentation. I would like to open the floor for questions and remarks.
Maybe I can start with a question. Thank you very much for introducing this topic. And I'm also familiar with the situation of Warsaw because I also come from the city. And I wanted to maybe comment that I really appreciate the cooperation between your NGO organization and the traditional ways of educating and schooling, because I know that in our current political situation is not that much easy. And I really appreciate that you provide the children with tools and methods rather than with the top-down knowledge and data as they are usually faced at school. And I don't know if that's a question, rather like a probably start of some further discussion, how to make this cooperation and tools something that is treated equally and not just a supplement, but to make it in a way a working system, that these non-official organizations are actually important part of the curriculum, and how this should be, I don't know, make treated more seriously with this honesty and with this sincere approach that you have towards education.
Thanks for that comment. And yeah, I agree. This is a big question. How to make it also more sustained. What we could do, and it's maybe the simplest way is like, you know, sharing those scenarios of the workshops with the broader community. But I believe that this is really a lot about teachers, and those cooperation we have are very promising, I would say. So we have 3 teachers we are working with in a very close way. There is a group of 3 or 4 more in each school, but one is really like our main contact. And these are 3 different personalities and 3 different stories, but each of them found those methods super interesting. And also, you know, like that we have some changes in a school system, that they should work more in the groups, that there should be more based on the project. But it's very difficult for teachers to really find the idea how to do that. They should meet some, you know, more like European standards in terms of the teaching methods, but there are not so many tools and ideas how to really do that. So in a sense that this is win-win situation, that we were able to, you know, like realize our like implement our part, but they were also very happy to learn something from us. Even it was peer-to-peer learning both ways. But we did some evaluation last month, and what we heard also from the teachers, that was also inspiring to them. So I believe that we can work on that level, not going to the, you know, top of the system, which is right now not in, at least in Poland, not very good moment to do that. But working directly with teachers, and if they are brave enough to try new things, it should work perfectly fine.
Yeah, so
yeah, go ahead.
No, so if I understand correctly, so for the teachers, there are 2 benefits. Like they can learn a new way of teaching, and so also meeting the goals of the things they have to do, and then teach about air quality and mobility, and the impact, I guess, is on the kids, but also on the parents and on the municipality. Which would be the most, or is it all necessary? What is the most important impact you have on which group?
So I think children are, you know, the most exposed on our work. So this is kind of obvious player in that game. But we found also in different elements of our project that parents are very much involved as well. But you mentioned municipality and city authorities, and this is probably the most difficult part. But also I have to say that we are very lucky to have good partners on the side of the city council, and there is some continuation of these projects right now with them. With those authorities responsible for the roads, the road management, and as far as I understood, they are also interested in such methods we were showing, also from the perspective of gathering data. So they don't use the citizen science expression itself, but this is something that interests them and attracts them the most, I think, because they have those, you know, those big data, they have a lot of analyses, models, and things like that, but they are far from real inhabitants. It's very difficult to meet people in a very, you know, close cooperation on a street level, I would say. So for them, having using these methods is interesting, I believe.
Okay, so it's also really the data they can use, and
that's
yeah,
definitely.
Because it's quite broad arrangement of data, right? So it's not just air quality measurements, but all kinds of mobility parameters.
Yes, yes, and also we are in the different elements of the project. We are also counting the cars and pedestrians and cyclists around school in different periods, and we have all different data also from the questionnaires, from the quantitative and qualitative interviews and things like that. But I think what this element of citizen science and working with schools brings is this, as I mentioned, this kind of reality check, that we have all those data, but sometimes it's difficult to interpret what they really means to people. And as I said, this perspective of 90 centimeters or 120 centimeters from the ground, so the eye level of the children from 3 to 8. This is something we cannot as adults, and especially if we are based only on data, big data, we cannot guess what it really means. And that was actually very interesting when we worked outside. When we went out from the school with children, we already had some data from the sensors, and we already went through this exercise with Vaseline and a piece of paper on the tree. But we try to kind of expose children directly on the noise and smell of the cars in front of the school. And it was almost invisible to them. They used to that so much that they didn't feel that there is something wrong about that. And also about the noise. It is super noisy also in the school, because it's very crowded and kids are screaming and running there. So when we went to the very busy road, and it was super loud, they couldn't really say that this is something that is harmless, that is harmful to them. So that was also a very interesting finding, that our senses can cheat us, can make us think that we basically we can use to some circumstances we live in, right?
Okay.
I have a question. Hi, Magda. Thank you very much for the very interesting presentation. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes.
I was wondering if you have any indication of the people that participate, or the children that participate in the project, in terms of minority ethnic groups or low socioeconomic backgrounds. I guess what I want to know, when we carry out these citizen science activities, we still fail to reach those groups that probably are not necessarily part of the conversation, or at least here in the UK. So I was wondering whether you experienced something like this, or I mean, probably wasn't part of or the main purpose of the project, but who came forward to take part in this activity, and did you notice anything in this respect?
Thanks for that question, Jana, because this is one of the reasons we chose schools and public schools, also to have very diverse group of people. And also all these 3 locations brought us different families. And because of this, the privacy issues, rather, and things like that, we couldn't really gather very sensitive data about families and children. But we know a lot about neighborhoods they live in, and then different districts of Warsaw. And for example, this school with the memes, the one at the outskirts of Warsaw, this is typically kind of rich neighborhood, and there is the car ownership is on a very high level. And we could, of course, see that through the observations and that's direct interactions with families. But that was also the school where the most families are bringing kids to school in a private car. And in another location, it was much more diverse group, and it was a school focused on the sport activities. So it attracts completely different children. And the one in Targówek district, has some multicultural kind of approach. So they work very closely with the immigration office that is in the same district, and there are many kids with Warsaw is not, or wasn't 1 year ago, wasn't very diverse in terms of ethnicity and religion and things like that, comparing to London, for example. But this district was pretty diverse with some minorities like Roma people and different groups. But because of the war in Ukraine, during our project, into each class, at least 2-3 children from Ukraine joined during the project. So that was also very interesting to observe. And we were lucky. We have one Ukrainian girl in our team, and we were super lucky because she could join us while working with schools. And sometimes she was the only person speaking Ukrainian. Even teachers couldn't communicate with these new pupils. So that was also an opportunity to kind of involve them and engage them. But what I want to say is, I think, at least in the context of Polish cities, working with public schools would be a guarantee that you have pretty diverse group in terms of economical situation, but also the cultural and social capital of families. That would be my intuition.
Other questions or remarks?
I can tell you, if there is no more questions for now, I can tell you about our main concern right now. That is a little bit connected with what you, Jakub, said before about this continuation and this sustainability thing, because I have a feeling that we created kind of interesting package of tools and methods, and it's maybe not that difficult to describe them and prepare them in a very nice way. But as I said, going to reaching teachers would be very important, and probably the best idea to spread the method. But it's kind of difficult to find them, to get in touch with them. We can do that through the cooperation with the education department in the city, but it's a very official way, and I'm afraid that teachers will not be super open. So we are trying to organize some meetings in person to show them those methods. And the first one will be in Lublin, in another city of Poland, in 2 weeks, thanks to the cooperation with city of Lublin. But then I'm struggling. I'm thinking how to keep these methods going in some schools, because I think we came up with pretty nice ideas, but it's usually an issue in our case, how to spread the news. Maybe you have some suggestions.
Yeah, I think I've tried to work with schools also, and I think it's really difficult to find teachers who have time for such a subject. But it does really help when they are teaching something and reaching other goals. For example, they have to teach the children how to do research, and you give them a method to do research, or they have to learn certain mathematic things, and you integrate that in the method. But still, then it's hard for them, at least in the Netherlands at this moment. It's very hard for them. So it's the only thing we are now doing successfully is with high schools, and it's in an organization where the teachers also have a vote, and they are developing the lectures about certain topics so that they fit exactly into the program that the schools have to do. So they have to do to reach certain goals, so teaching goals, and the lectures they get are exactly prepared to fit that in that. But that is really a challenge. And but if you can do it, and upscaling would be great. Because I wonder how particular these methods are for different countries, because there are so many cultural differences. We had a talk before, and then in Flanders, they had this solution where around schools they close off the road when the children start school and end school, so that no cars can come in the near the school during those periods. But this is a very Flemish solution, and we in the Netherlands, when we are the neighbors, we don't have that kind of solution. So yeah, it's quite interesting to see what kind of parts of your method would be useful for other countries, I think.
Yeah, that's true. And but this closing streets for 30 minutes or 1 hour, we are testing it. I mean, like the city of Warsaw is testing it right now as well. So I'm very curious how is going to, what kind of results it's going to bring. But there is already huge conflict and discussion around that. But also I noticed, and this is really like informal observation, I would say, in some conversations with parents of children from our groups, that we are trying to find the most important arguments that would make them change their habits, so leave the car and take other ways of transportation, modes of transportation. And so there are two main: safety, but also this air quality and things around issue. So we have a very big discussion about smog and about the air quality, which is bad for last 3 years in Polish cities. So people started to really taking care about that, and for example, schools and preschools, they cannot let children out to the backyard or something like that when there is a bad air quality. So they monitor that. This is very new, and very often in winter they really cannot let children go out because of the air quality issue. And kind of thanks to that it finally became a topic. Also parents were interested in our results and said, oh really, this is for 6 weeks this winter, the air quality was so bad around school. What can we do about that, right? So, and they that was the moment when they were saying, can we ourselves do something about that? This is still super far from changing the behavior and way of and the lifestyle, but that was kind of optimist moment where they could connect different dots of this complex picture.
Interesting.
May I ask something? Hello, everybody.
Hi, welcome. Go ahead.
Hello. Well, I was thinking, hello, Magda, while you were presenting that, first of all, that air quality is a little abstract thing. And if the air quality is not very bad, you cannot feel it, the air pollution, I mean. So for the children of 8 years old or 9 years old, it's a little, I mean, not very tangible. I don't know. Yeah. So perhaps, as you said, perhaps you said already, I think that you had, they didn't understand what is it at the beginning. No, is it true? I understood it well. Yes. So, for example, I was thinking that here they do some programs with marine litter, for example, for so young children, which is more tangible. They can see it. Okay. So, is this a difficulty at the beginning to explain to the children what is it? Did you face a difficulty like this? I mean, I'm trying to describe.
Yeah, you're right that this is, well, maybe it wasn't difficult for them to get, for example, with the smog from the cars, from the engine. It is very kind of, you can really smell that, right? But I like this exercise I was a little bit skeptical about that, but Nuria actually showed me this very simple idea with paper and the Vaseline, you know, on that, because that was something, that was a moment where we could see these things that we are breathing in usually. And for kids, you're right that this is still kind of abstract, but that was the moment that they could really get some kind of idea that it can be even visible, right? But you are right, and the same with noise. I feel like this is something that maybe it's still worth, I don't know, exploring, maybe using art and this kind of methods to create it. We've been creating some sculptures out of rubbish to deal a little bit with that, but in a very, you know, like playful way. But I would need to think more how to show it in a very touchable way. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and I would like to ask something more, if I'm allowed. What do you think it was the impact on the children? I mean, for example, they liked science. They started to think about science more, or they were more sensitive to change, as you said, to change their everyday habits, or just playing. I mean, what was the main impact you think these activities have on the children of this age? Perhaps some of them have this idea to be researchers, for example, because they
That's
do
possible.
research.
That's what I don't really know. Even if we had this meeting with the real scientist, the physician, and he came and he was kind of a crazy scientist, a little bit like from the cartoon. And that was the moment when I saw children like, wow. But I don't know how far it went with their, you know, ideas for the future. But for sure, this superpower, as I said at the beginning, that they checked something, they took some notes, they counted that, they were trying to explain it. Also, we made some videos, showed the documentary. They are going to present the results of their research in the round tables with the local district authorities. So they collected real data, and they see some continuation of that someone is discuss these issues, treat them seriously. I think this is very empowering. And that was also the moment, that's what we learned from the teachers, that not necessarily those from the first rows in the class that are usually super active, some of them were still active, but also children that cannot, for example, sit in one place for a long time. They want to run, and they are usually making some troubles in the class. They could finally express themselves a little bit different way, and they became, that was a the big discovery for teachers, that they became active and interested in the topic. So I think that this is bringing a little bit moving a little bit different competencies and strong some powers of children than in the everyday school day, right?
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. Yes, and also, did you see gender differences? Because we saw, I mean, for science or engineering issues, usually the boys are more active in when they become older, at 16, 17, 18 years old. In Greece, at least, this is more boys choose such subjects. It was possible to find some differences in the activities? I think it's very difficult to say that, but just if you observed something, perhaps.
That's
or
an
not.
interesting topic. I would need to think more about that. What I'm trying to do for sure, and we are trying to do that during, our workshop, is to invite both genders and all of them. And also the way I'm trying to present the results, also showing pictures of girls and boys. That's also important to me. But I cannot say most of the gender balance in those groups where there are more girls. That is maybe coincidence in all three groups. So I don't have any clear vision what was if there was any shift or something like that. I think in that age, when they are 8, they are still, I think they're still like in maths or in a little bit more engineering areas at school. They are both, they are girls and boys still very present. I think they're a little bit older children and pupils that are starting to form those groups. That would be my guess. But I cannot tell you, unfortunately, any like any finding here, because. But thanks for raising this topic, because it's important, and maybe we should pay a little bit more attention to that, how it works in that area.
Yes, the students at the university, for example, in the engineering schools, it's 70% boys and 30% girls. The girls start to become more now, because they are more, how do you say this? They read more usually, so they start. But traditionally, this is the situation at the ages of 20, etc.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe you got them right at the perfect moment, Magda, when they are still, not
True.
in these molds. Yeah.
Definitely.
I guess our time is up. Some people already had to leave, and they put in the chat that they had to go to a different meeting, and they wanted to thank you for a wonderful talk, Magda. I'd like to talk to say the same. Wonderful talk. Thank you very much, and I hope to see some of you or most of you next month when we have another talk about Diana. From Diana, also about school kids doing measurements in London, so that will also be quite exciting. And thank you very much for everybody also for attending.
See you. Thank you.
Thank you. See you.